guys, this is 3.1 on exponential equations and functions. So your three vocab terms are kind of mixed in with your very important concepts. So you have an exponential function, which is this, f of x equals a times b to the x, the equation that we've talked about, where a is your initial value and b is the base, and b is always a positive value. Then you have the two different types of exponential functions. You have exponential growth, where b is greater than 0. And you have exponential decay, where b is between 0 and 1. So it's that decimal value that we've talked about, where it lands in between 0 and 1. So you've got three exponential functions we're going to look at, and we want to know, are they exponential, what's the base, and what's the initial value? So our first one says y equals 2 to the x, and it is an exponential function. Your exponent is that variable. The base is 2, and your initial value is 1. We talked about if there's not a number being multiplied here, the initial value is going to be 1. We also have y equals negative 3 times 4 to the x. Is an exponential function because your variable, your exponent is a variable. The base is 4, and your initial value is negative 3. And y equals 2x to the fourth is not an exponential function. Your exponent is 4, so it's not that x that makes it an exponential, so that one's not an exponential function. And we also have write the exponential function that passes through 0, 3, and 2, 10. So these 2 points give you a lot of information to fill out in this equation, y equals a times b to the x. So this point first is your xy, right? Any points are xy. Any point you have is x and y. So I'm going to plug 2, 10 in, 10 as y and 2 as x in this equation. The next thing you can get from those two sets of points is this 0, 3. Because that 3 is where your function is when x is 0, that's your initial value. So that 3 is going to go in with a. So anytime you have a point that's 0 something, that y value is what you can substitute in for a. So my equation that I'm going to solve for b for says 10 equals 3 times b squared. Dividing by 3 and then square rooting both sides so that I get what b is equal to. I have b is equal to 1.83. So when I go to write my equation, I want it to say y equals 3, because you want your initial value in there, times 1.83, because you want that b, that base in there, to the x.